Hi, everyone. Welcome. Come on in. I am starting my live at the Coaches Table live for Wednesday Friday rather, for about 30 minutes. And the topic today is how you can lead when you don't have all the answers. And this really is coming up a lot with my clients, and I'm going to be talking about that. But let me first kick it off and tell you about me. I'm executive coach and leadership psychology expert, Phyllis Reagin. I've been an executive coach for 12 years. I'm a former studio exec, and I help leaders and teams with getting more confident, getting clearer about their impact, getting focused on how to influence, and really showing up the way that they want to. And so today I am going to be focusing on a topic that I'm hearing quite a bit in my coaching. With all of the uncertainty that's happening in reorgs, with merger acquisitions, with the economy, with whatever changes that are happening at your org, often leaders can feel disengaged. They can feel really off balance, not grounded. And what happens when you feel that way is you don't show up well for yourself as a leader, for the career you're trying to build, and certainly not for the team or teams that you're guiding. So one of my clients recently came into coaching, Brian, and that's not his real name. And he is a VP of external communications for a sports management company. They're going through changes. There's a pending merger and acquisition taking place. There's also been some leadership reorgs. So there's a lot of looking left and right, wondering what's next. People are afraid of potentially there being an upcoming rift, and that their job will get swept up into that. So what happens when teams are worrying and they don't really have the answers from their own leadership is they too often become unmotivated, distracted, unfocused, or sometimes hyper-focused on the wrong things. So here's what I help my clients with. When this is occurring around you and you don't have the answers. So you may not really know what's going to be happening from the top down at your company. You might not have that clarity to provide to your team. Or if you do know, you're really not in the position to tell them at that time. So you're holding that information that could actually help them maybe understand what's happening better, but it could also introduce some more concern on their behalf, on their side of it. So when managers are kind of in that role of, I can't say what I want to say, or I don't know what's going on, so I really can't help my team, they really start to retract too much. They don't know what to say, so they don't say anything. So it's that, white elephant in the room. Everybody knows something's happening and things are out of balance, and they're looking toward their leader, like, what's happening? What's next? And when their leader goes radio silent and doesn't even indicate that maybe there is something wrong or there's something that they can help their team with, their teams generally stop believing the leader, start to have low trust around the leader's ability to manage the situation or to give them the information that's truthful and honest and helpful. So here's where I start with my clients. First, make sure you're solving for the right problem. My clients come in and they'll use an overarching idea of what's happening on their team or in their org, and they'll say things like there's uncertainty happening, and that clearly can be the case. But I want to make sure they're not reactionary, but they're really solving for the problem. So I introduce, and I'm going to tell you this as well, an acronym is VUCA. And it comes from the military. They came up with VUCA as a way to assess what's happening in the environment and what are some of the best strategies their leadership can offer to the military, to their teams. So VUCA stands for, it's spelled VUCA. And VUCA stands for V for volatility, U for uncertainty, C for complexity, A for ambiguity. So volatility, and many of these things can be happening in your org at the same time or on your team. You want to look for the predominant one because you're going to solve for that one. That's the one that's going to really make the difference in the short run. So VUCA, The volatility, of course, is like things changing very rapidly, the unevenly, maybe, acceleration all of a sudden starts to happen, or what was supposed to happen all of a sudden, there's a pivot. So this volatility is happening in your organization and or on your team. The U is uncertainty. So that is the uncertainty that often my leaders notice. The uncertainty of I don't know what's next. I don't know when it's coming. I don't know the why behind it. I don't know how it's tied to my team's initiatives. That's uncertainty. I don't know if there's rifts coming up or reorg is going to happen. Will leadership change? Will my job be impacted? Will my team look different? Uncertainty. The C is complexity. This happens sometimes in response to the other elements of the VUCA, and the complexity becomes around systems and procedures become too complex. Maybe the initiatives that the business is focused on are now too complex. And clients often say that that is happening, that is a response. Their teams then get a little bit confused. What overwhelmed? What are we supposed to be paying attention to? What really matters in this moment? We can't do all of what's being asked of us to achieve the outcomes. That's complexity. And then the A is ambiguity. Ambiguity often is around the communications. Unclear, unfocused. Your team doesn't know what to do with it. Ambiguity can be around unsure what's the strategic plan, unsure of what exactly is happening. So that's that ambiguity, the nebulousness of it all. So that's what I want you to think about. Step back and look at what's happening before you try to lead without the answers. There are clues for you. So you want to know what's really happening. Is it predominantly the volatility, the uncertainty, the complexity, or the ambiguity? Now, once you decide what it predominantly is, this is when you want to put on the hat of, I'm going to be thinking from my I can control hat, not what I can't control. Sometimes when these things are happening in orgs, leaders don't have a lot of control. So what can you control? Can it be around the messaging? Can it be how you decide, what's the priorities are for your team? Can it be about how you check in with them? Can it be about how you're aligning their strengths to the work that's needed from them so you do get the best outcomes and they're engaged? So you want to look across and think about, I know what the problem is. I'm going to solve for the problem. And now I'm going to look at what I can actually control. Once you have I know what I can control, then you want to think about, I don't want to overwhelm myself, because when you too are in the middle of this VUCA, right? You want to make sure that you're coming across calm and clear and focused. And if you're overwhelmed by what's happening and you're focused maybe too widespread at all of the things that are happening, that can be overwhelming, and that can overwhelm your leadership messaging, how you show up for your team. So instead, think about micro actions you can take that address the V, the U, the C, or the A, the VUCA. What are those micro actions that you can take? So micro actions can look like, I'm going to, next week, here's the one best thing I can do for my team around uncertainty. Or here's the next best thing I can do around addressing the volatility for my team. It could be things that you do with your own leadership that helps set up your team. It could be how you communicate it, how you structure things for your team. But you're going to choose the one best thing that you can do for your team right now. And that's how you do it ongoing. So it's not so big. It's not so overwhelming. And you'll find that you're calmer, you're clearer, your communication's more focused. You don't feel overwhelmed. You can access your best ideas when you're not overwhelmed. So we really want you, as my background is in neuroscience, so I always want my clients to access their prefrontal cortex. That's where your clarity, your planning, your decision-making, your creativity, that's where it's coming from. So if you're caught up in uncertainty, ambiguity, unclearness, concern, your amygdala is actually in charge. And when it's in charge, that is the threat detector. And it's going to spend all your energy, your focus, your time, and drain you looking at threats and keeping you stuck in them. So we want to deactivate that by you focusing on what you can control, having micro actions for it. And then when you start to implement those, you have your prefrontal cortex back online. This is going to allow you to show up as the leader you want to be. So here's what I want you to do when uncertainty, volatility, complexity, or ambiguity is showing up and you don't have the answers. I want you to think about the VUCA. What is actually happening so you can solve for it? So if you want to know more about the VUCA, go to the Harvard Business Review site and put in VUCA. They have articles that go over each element, the V, the U, the C, and the A, and 2 articles that explains it in totality so you can have a better understanding of what it is and how you can use it as a leader. It's going to help you in life. It's going to help you even if it's not professional. It will help you in personal to take a look at what's happening so you know what actually the problem is and what you need to focus on. So go to the Harvard Business Review site, and if you want deeper understanding, this is definitely a leadership competencies I think more leaders need to have. So this is going to be so helpful to you for your growth as a leader. I am talking every Wednesday, Friday, Saturdays even, for 30 minutes about leadership, about mindset. And if you're interested in these kind of topics and getting real bite-sized things that you can take to action, implement right now, join me for these lives. They're on whatever channel you're looking at me right now. You can find them at 12 to 12:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. All right, if you want to know what the calendar is for the rest of October, just go to my website, Phyllis Reagin, REAGIN.com/live events. You're going to find the tab, live events, and go scroll down and you can download the monthly calendar. Thanks for joining me. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you are curious about, maybe what you want to know more about. I'd love to know, and I can add, create more content to address it, or give me your email and I'll email you directly. And tomorrow I am coming on again, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for 30 minutes. I'm going to be talking about how to reignite your motivation during the high busy season. That's high busy season professionally and personally for most of us. So how do you reignite that motivation? I'm going to give you a key strategy that you can implement right away. Thanks for showing up, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.